My mic was off. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the pre-show. I'm here today with my lovely wife, Sil, and I see Stacey here is with us as well, just
Hello.
as lovely. And this is the pre-show where we just have a little chit-chat while everyone signs in. So how are you guys doing today?
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm doing good, especially because Stacey's here.
Awesome. Our guest is here. He's in the background. He's nodding his head. I see him. So our topic tonight is paranormal experiences, EVP, and mediumship. So what do you guys think about those topics? And is there anything specific you think we should dive into tonight?
I'm always interested to hear from anyone who's a medium or a channeler and understand how they see or how they receive messages, but also how they can discern who or what they're speaking to and differentiate between various entities.
Okay, good question. Sil, what about you?
I think that's a really good question. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just writing it down. All right. I got a bunch of questions up my sleeves, but I will leave those until we get there. And I do have an icebreaker from Timmy today, so we're gonna get into that. So, all right, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Sit back, relax, and we'll see you. We'll see you in a couple minutes.
Tonight we will go deep into the realm of the unknown and question everything as we search for the truth. We will explore the possibility of countless phenomena within the ultra spectrum, and together we will learn that it is all connected. This podcast is brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association, and it is a live stream broadcast. If you have a question, send me a super chat or become a YouTube member. This podcast is brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. Take a seat, relax, get ready, and welcome to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat.
Hello, everybody. Today is Thursday, January 20th, 2022, and I, Ryan Stacey, am your host this evening. I'm a licensed private investigator, citizen journalist, and the director of investigations for the Experiencer Support Association. Welcome to the channel, and thank you for joining us this evening. To super chat, click the $ next to your name in the comment box, and if you're in the observation deck, put your questions inside the chat room, and I'll see it there. Our guest tonight for season 4, episode 3, is Gary Arnold. Gary Arnold is a married father of 2 who resides in Oxford, Pennsylvania. He currently works in academia as a writing instructor. His interests are travel, fine dining, hiking, fishing, fossil hunting, and raising exotic pigeons. This is very interesting. I want to get into that. He is also a paranormal experiencer who has created 2 short documentaries about his continuing investigation on EVP, which is electronic voice phenomenon. Gary has been featured on the Nashville Country Television Network, in newspapers, and most recently he hung out with and shared forensic data with Discovery Channel's Real Life Indiana Jones, Joshua Gates. So tonight's theme, Gary interacts almost daily with, ethereal entities who claim to be alien, otherworldly, and tonight he will share his experiences. So tonight's theme is paranormal experiences, EVP, and mediumship. So Gary, put on your tinfoil hat.
All right.
How are you doing today?
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Sorry, my Siri is listening.
That's all right.
That's all right. Good to have you. So, what we normally do is we'll kick off the show here with the icebreaker from Tim the Demon Guy Morrison. So, 1 second here. So you've been on the show. You've seen the show many times. I'm sure you know what this means. Tim the Demon Guy will give me a question, the first question of the night. I'm reading it for the first time, and that'll be the icebreaker. So
sounds good.
All right. So sometimes they're weird, but we'll see. So his question is, they are weird. If you could live in anyone's head for 15 minutes, being John Malkovich style, so that's in brackets, whose head would you choose?
15 minutes. That's not very long. How about 15 minutes? How about Bono?
Okay.
U2's lead singer, Bono. Yeah.
Okay. And what would you tell him for 15? Or I guess you're in his head, so I guess what information do you think you would get from that?
I think I'd try to give him inspire him with some lyrics or something. I think U2, some of the lyrics have gone down to mediocre lately.
Okay.
They used to. I've followed them because I'm 54 years old, so I've followed U2 since they came out in the early 80s and MTV and stuff. But I think recently, well, they haven't toured recently because of the pandemic and stuff too. I understand that, and I've seen them in concert, and they're still my favorite band. But recently, just some of the songs aren't just, they don't grip me in the same way. Now, maybe I've changed too. We've all grown older. But yeah, so if I could be in Bono's head for 15 minutes, I think I'd add some edge, literally and figuratively, to their music.
Okay, I'll accept that. That's a good answer. I was just thinking for me, I would take that and I would go into like Parliament, the Prime Minister for us, and be like, UFOs for like 15 minutes and say like, tell us
the truth.
Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. All right. Well,
it was just, again, that was just what came to mind. So I didn't know your question. So this
that's the whole point of it. It's an icebreaker. So we're here, we're having fun, we're being normalized. And then my first question, which I always do, is why are you the way that you are? And what I mean by that is how did this guy who's sitting in front of me get here? So walk me through, the beginning and lead me through your experiences. Let's talk about that.
Sure. I'm raised in a Christian household when I was younger, although I'm not a traditional Christian in any sense of the word, but just I've always had an idea, a concept of God, and I just culturally, I was raised Christian, but that prism and how I process information has continued through my life, like anyone, it's part of their culture. in 2017, I have really just a normal life except for this strange phenomenon I'm going to describe. In 2017 in December, I would usually, a little backstory, work in academia. Like I said, you teach writing as an instructor and an academic support role. And I usually take my lunch break in the university library. And that's a way to get away from the kids and just a little time, for my lunch break without interruption. So even though the kids had gone home for winter break, I went over to the library just out of habit. And I decided, because it was right before my break was to start at the university, that I was going to read Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. And most people don't know that's a very short story. And we see the TV version, with they make it a couple hours long, but it's a short read. And I was there, and there's nobody in the library. I understand there's nobody there. And I was at the top floor of the library, and I get this really strange, coated crystalline ear ringing sound, and only my right ear. All right, and this is my right ear here, and it was so different because everybody gets ear ringing from time to time, and I've been to concerts and stuff, so you end up with a little ear ringing there, especially if you don't wear any earplugs or anything. And I've liked loud music, but this was so different. I say ear ringing; it wasn't anything like ear ringing in a traditional sense. It was very like I said, coded, almost like a Morse code, but very fast, crystalline, and annoying. Now, the thing is, I'm very old school when it comes to technology and stuff. I don't have a smartphone. All right. I have track phone. This is the A205. It's Alcatel 205G.
It looks holographic. It looks high tech with it like disappearing in and out.
Yeah. Little Star Trek there.
I don't have much. I just have the best phone that ever existed.
Well, I bought this from the local Rite Aid with my daughter because my wife, she was like, man, I need to be able to connect to you. Everybody else has a phone. Yeah, I have my office phone. But, if I'm out of the office, walking across campus or anywhere, she wanted to be able to reach me. And I understand that because she's tech savvy. My kids are tech savvy. And I'm like, okay, I'll go out and get a phone. So I go to the local Rite Aid in Oxford with my daughter, and I'm looking for a cheap phone, just so somebody can, if she wants to call me, she can call me. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking, and they have a $10 old school A205, an Alcatel 205G phone on the shelf. And I said to the clerk, and my daughter can vouch for this, and I said, hey, it doesn't have any features. It's not smart. I mean, it's pretty basic. It does have a voice recorder. It does, have a calculator and things, and it can make calls. But, I said, I'll give you $5 for it. And the lady looked at me and she's like, you know what? Okay, $5. So I got this phone for $5. Now, at the time, I didn't know that it would change my life in a sense that, in an unforeseen way. So I got back to the story where I'm in the library. All right. And this strange noise comes in my right ear only. And I think there's a thought that pops into my head that, hey, I have this old school Alcatel A205, G track phone, and it has a voice recorder feature. Maybe I can record this annoying noise because I can't figure out what this noise is. And this noise is going on for about 45 seconds. Anyhow, so I turn my phone and click on that feature, push record. Upon playback, I expected to hear some kind of squelch or some kind of noise. Upon playback of the recording, instead, I hear a voice whisper my name, say Mr. Arnold. Okay, now students call me Mr. Arnold, all right, in a professional sense, because I'm not a professor or anything like that, but so I make them call me Mr. Arnold. So I looked around and thought, man, is there a student here? Because they went home on break. And I kept looking around, trying to figure out, well, how did this person's voice just get on my phone? But, as it was a novelty, and I couldn't figure it out. And I thought, well, okay, maybe somebody's spoofing me. I even looked around to say, is somebody playing a trick here? Mm-hmm. Because it was unexpected. Instead of hearing the noise that I recorded, that I hear only in my ear, I don't hear voices in my head. I only hear that noise. But instead, there's a voice on here that whispers my name, and I have those clips and stuff I can share with you anytime. All the raw clips that haven't been enhanced that you could say, oh, again, I like to keep it real. Mm-hmm. So curiosity got the best of me because I left the library perplexed. I did not sit down and finish reading Charles Dickens. I think it was just like, well, I need to think about what was that. And So the next day, I come back to take my lunch break, and I'm thinking, will it happen again? Will lightning strike twice? Because I couldn't figure this out. So I'm starting to eat my lunch break, and I start hearing that noise again. This time, I thought, I'm going to ask some kind of question here. What is this? Because again, it was so annoying. So I ask, is anyone there? Upon playback of that recording, you don't hear the annoying noise. You hear an emphatic yes, people. Okay, now I'm worried because I can't figure this out. I'm like, well, all right, is somebody playing some kind of elaborate joke? Are they somehow able to beam a signal into just my right ear? Doesn't make sense. Again, it's localized just to my right ear. And so now I'm starting to think maybe there's something wrong. All right, so I tell my wife, because before I didn't tell her, I told my wife, said, there's something strange going on here. Maybe I need to see a doctor. And I explained the situation. And our family doctor, I ended up making an appointment because I was worried, because I could do this every day. and it was localized at the time just in the library. All right. So I talked to the family doctor, and he's like, okay, we're going to rule out everything. We're going to, we have to get the insurance company to pay for it. So how do we do that? We're going to say you're having audio hallucinations. All right, we're also going to do comprehensive full panel blood work. We're going to look for exotic things like Lyme disease, because in this area of the country, we have a prevalence of Lyme disease, and there's a chance that if it's in advanced stages, it can cause hallucinations. So we went down to look for a brain tumor, schizophrenia, everything. I had high contrast, detailed MRIs. Everything ended up coming back. I've never been healthier. There's no problem here. So, and I would play the recordings. I started to have recordings where I could interact with the beings and ask them a question every time this happened. And I would get an intelligent response. Now, understand, I want your audience to know the weirdest thing about this is upon playback of the recordings, before I ask the question, it is heard most times, 8 times out of 10. That's when they'll answer. So you'll hear an intelligent response to the question before I even ask it. So like I asked about going to the doctor. They said the response, the being says, get the blood work, directly related to my question. So I play it for the doctor, and the doctor's like, yeah, wow. The more you get into this, the more bizarre and twisted, because the interactions I started to build a rapport with entities. That's what they say, that they claim to be otherworldly and alien. I have the clips because I asked them, okay, what do you eat in your realm? They tell me they don't eat where they are, that they don't have age distinction. And so it ended up becoming something where once I had been able to go and jump through all the hoops and say, I'm not crazy, I'm not fake. There's nobody wants to fake some crazy stuff like this. That I'm able to speak to ethereal entities with an old school track phone. If somebody told me 5 years ago I'd be on a show like this talking about that, I would have thought that person was crazy. If I met myself on the street, I would think the same thing today, because I'm just like, how can this be? But I started to enlist in other investigators, and I would ask the entities questions for other people, including remote viewing. So I've done some remote viewing for. Are you familiar with Robert Bigelow's team?
I am.
Yes. So he has a team. Colm. Are you familiar with Colm?
Not too familiar. I've heard of it in passing, but not too familiar.
So I started to do remote viewing, and the answers were coming back correct. All right. So for other people, then I got to the point where I asked the entities who claim to be alien, all this crazy stuff, and then they know my name, they know my wife's name. So I started to say, okay, and I was doing tests for these people, where we'd use the same make and model phone. We'd have all kinds of scientific tests. We put it in a Faraday pouch. Have you heard of it? Yeah. We'd use smartphones right next to these old school track phones, and we'd have them press the button simultaneously when the beings are interacting, and they let me know they want to talk. I can't summon them. It's not like a relationship where I can say, hey, I need you right now. They come when they want. They'll let me know that they want to interact with me by this sound. So only the old school phones for whatever. Now, again, I'm not a technical person. The researchers that I've interacted with, and they've done the forensic analysis and everything on the clips, they're all genuine. There's no hocus pocus. There's no attempt at fakery. You can take an audio file, and you can, just like a picture, a photograph, you can go pixel by pixel in a photograph to see, a computer can analyze it and see if it's been photoshopped or doctored. The same thing with an audio file, waveform by waveform, you can show this isn't faked. And how is it picking up a signal inside the Faraday pouch? So you end up with, these researchers had me doing this, and they said that the old school track phones, they don't have the modern day phones have filtering algorithms that take out the white noise. Old school phones still have a small percentage of white noise in them. All right. So that's what the theory that they're working with is. The researchers say that the beings are using ambient white noise. They're crafting it into what sounds like intelligible speech. Now, I'm familiar with pareidolia. All right. That's the people start to see patterns. They start to see what they want. People look at clouds and they see, a chicken or a bird or an angel.
But that's visual. Now we're looking at audio pareidolia as well, though. Right.
Audio pareidolia is real too. So what the researchers and I, we enlisted people who are using bleeding edge computer software to actually analyze the clips objectively, that it's not going to be affected by pareidolia. So is this, and at the end, the computer, have you ever used like Google Translate, and they leaves a voice message on, let's say, your Google Voice, and the translator will translate the message into words that you can read. Well, this is many, many steps beyond that. The bleeding edge computer software not only is analyzing it waveform by waveform, the EVP portion, but they're able to make the suggestion of what the computer believes is being said. And the researchers, I've had different groups all over the world, and they're all coming to a consensus, which is the whole scientific method thing where, the theories are tested, not just, you have to have peer review. So I've gone about this in that sense. I've let these scientists, basically work with me and pro bono, so they help me, I help them. If they're doing research, they have questions about, there was a one from Bigelow's team, and it was they were looking for a shapeshifter. All right. Now I know some of the people are going, what on earth are you talking about? I'm talking about, this is something that you're familiar with, Skinwalker Ranch. Right. And you have entities who are able to change shapes to maybe look like a woman, but then it really isn't. And so I have, all this hard evidence. All right, that I was involved in July 2020. I was involved in taking interacting with the beings, asking questions to find a shapeshifter. All right, who was on the run from some of Bigelow's team. Shapeshifter who they believe, they had evidence, had perhaps an influence, a negative influence on the Trump administration, because her grandson, the shapeshifter, has a grandson playing video games online with Barron Trump, Trump's son. So I was, this is all, I was, there was a political dimension to this too. And I have, I don't want to prop up anyone in QAnon. This stuff they're mischievous beings. These beings like to play games. But in September 2020, I asked the question that was on everybody's mind. I said, who is going to win the U.S. presidential election? All right. Now, the answer is loud and clear, and it's before the clip, Donald Trump. We all know that's not what happened. However, I was told I should bury that clip. By some of these investigators, they said, you shouldn't, this is dangerous, because this is the kind of stuff that stirs the pot. The entities, they enjoy playing games. They say they like playing games. When I do remote viewing with them, they will ask me, are we playing the game again? That to them, it's a game. To me, it's like, I can't understand it. So I've asked questions for other people, and right away, I'm like, okay, this is information. Like if somebody asked me what's on a park bench, in Seattle, and in a certain colored can, all right, Planters peanut can, what's in that park, in that can on that park bench? they give me 10 minutes during my lunch break to ask, and then I respond. I don't tell them what I hear. I just send the raw clip. Now, the being said the correct answer, a battery. All right. So now then the investigators say, wow, this is exciting. Let's do another. And then so it ends up being just by word of mouth. People start asking questions like, hey, could you do this favor for me? Now, understand, I always preface this. I'm not about interpreting the messages. I'm not about putting any stock in the accuracy. I'm staking my claim that these messages should not be there. All right, that whatever they are, they're intelligent responses that they can name things. They have access to information beyond my brain, beyond my cranium, that they can look at, for remote viewing purposes, other researchers, and find. With Bigelow's team, yes, they actually had a response that was correct, where this shapeshifter, skinwalker, whatever you call it, was hiding. All this, again, I have concrete evidence. I interacted with the researchers, and it is just like, I can share this privately with you. But it scares some people. I've actually had death threats, anonymous people directed not at me, but at some of my friends and family. So I'm concerned that some people, maybe who help me with research, maybe they're playing it both ways. I don't know. Maybe they're also saying, hey, let's send let's send his friends some kind of message to scare him. You want to trust people, but I can't naturally just trust people, because this, number one, is so outlandish, so crazy. When the beings say, like, we had a rabbit that died, all right, a family pet. And I say, okay, what's the name of our rabbit that recently passed? And you play it back, and right there at the beginning, the correct answer, Cuddles, right? But the beings affect the voice. When they answer about an animal, they will try to sound like a cartoonish version of that animal. So if the answer is a frog, they're talking like a frog to you. If it's a pig, they will make noise. They will try to sound like a pig. It is so absurd, so ludicrous. And again, I would never believe it if it weren't for the hard evidence. And that's why I enlisted. I'm actually working with people who, investigators are also working on understanding the Havana syndrome. All right. Now, you probably are familiar with Dr. Gary Nolan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I just, for New Year's Eve, I spent time interacting with him, and he's got researchers with Harvard. There's a whole network here of people who help. Yeah. So this is incredible stuff. And, I can only say so much. I can't say all the names because some of them I'm under no non-disclosure agreements, though. So that's good. I've stayed out of that.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So you keep mentioning evidence, though, hard evidence. Like, do you? I have your website pulled up. Is it on your website, this evidence, or is this just to your person?
No, the hard evidence that I'm saying, there are examples on my website.
Okay.
There are examples you can listen to where the entity says, I ask a question with a selection of answers, like, are you alien? Are you spirit, or something else? It's all there, so you can listen to it. Then I break it down. Now, the documentaries, all I do with the document, the first one's Subterranean Seance. All right. And the idea was that there's something about these entities that's very earthy. I'm saying almost, some people think of nature spirits. In the Muslim world, there's something called jinn, Jinn. So there's a whole gamut of, I believe the entities are straight up with me? No, I have more than enough evidence to think that they're playing a game. But you have to start thinking, well, is there a reason that this couldn't be someone doing some kind of psych thing on me? I'm a nobody. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I have no political aspirations. I have no money. I'm no trouble. I'm a regular Joe. All right. A regular guy. You can do the background check. I'm just a regular guy. If this fell into my lap, I'm not sure what to do with it. So I'm only devoting like 10% of my time to taking this message to people and say, hey, we got something. There's something going on here. I don't think it's a nefarious group of CIA operatives they're beaming stuff at me, like Havana syndrome. But I've actually had, like, the one group that does the analysis of clips and stuff, thinking that people are being harassed by the government through, like Havana syndrome or something like that. They analyzed one of my clips, The clip, you at the beginning of the show, you mentioned how I raise exotic pigeons. I do. I've imported pigeons from the tropics, doves and stuff. They're so beautiful, especially the colorful pigeons from the tropics and the warm regions, tropical regions of the world, the rainbow pigeon, which I affectionately call a sherbet pigeon, green-winged doves. But I also have regular homing pigeons. Now, in 2020, in June, I had an extra pair of white homing pigeons. So the ear ringing happens. Now, let me tell your audience, I asked one day earlier in 2020, am I only tethered to the library for this interaction? The entity said no. Said, we will find, if you want us to come, we will talk to you anywhere. They do now, everywhere. I'm talking about at home, in the car, in the mall, crazy stuff in the middle of the park. They will interact. So I'm not tethered to any location. It started out in that library where I work, but then when I learned that, hey, this is something and it wasn't like I invited spirits home or anything, but some people think that it's demonic, and I'm like, well, these are the wimpiest demons. I mean, I know their weakness, and I've had them apologize to me when they've offended me. I know this is going to sound totally out there, but sometimes they can be so mischievous and even vulgar. All right, they can say things that are deliberately cruel about our species. They can say mean things about people. Not all of them. All right, there are a couple of exceptions where they're uplifting and positive, and somebody would say that's a positive angelic figure. But the weakness that I've found, and I call it for what it is, when they've offended me, and I said I'm just not going to listen to you, because if I don't push record, if I don't turn my phone on and push record, I cannot know what they're trying to say. All right, there's no way the signal's there, but I can't understand it. So they need me to use the track phone as the conduit, as that translator, and it works great. I mean, it's not just one phone. I have all the track phones of this make and model are perfect. Some of them are network enabled, some of them aren't. Doesn't matter. The digital voice record feature will work on all of them. Actually, I have had the blueprints of the phone. In one of the two movies I have out, they're really short documentaries, and they're priced less than a McDonald's Happy Meal on purpose, because I'm not trying to keep all this information just to me. But the thing is, the one is we deconstruct the track phone. We go into the guts, and is there a defect in the phone that's causing this to happen? Which again, it goes back to the scientists say this signal should not be able to come through a Faraday pouch. And number two, you're getting intelligent responses, and it's like they're reading your mind, all right, that they are anticipating what you're going to say. So they took this clip that I was referring to about pigeons, right? And I asked the ethereal entity, should I sell my white homing pigeons and white pigeons? And all right, upon playback, you hear an emphatic sell them, right? Now, I've had this on the FM radio. I've shared it with a lot of people, and it's also on that website I told you about. So you have that. Now, I had that clip analyzed. You understand the clip is just a few seconds long. They took the computer software and they analyzed the clip to a subliminal fingerprint level, which is below the audible. See, the EVP is still audible. It may be whispered. The subliminal level, they took and peeled away the layers of forensic data, audio forensic data. So now they were able to reveal that in the clip about the pigeons, where you hear me asking the question after the answer is sell them, that the beings are telling me to sell these pigeons. Then you peel it away. Now you have revealed a whole conversation going on below the surface of the EVP, where there's a man and a woman. I assign gender. That doesn't mean that these beings have gender. A man and a woman discussing how much will he get for the pigeon, and do you think it's a homer? All right, which homing pigeon? All these before I even asked the question. So again, it boggles the mind. It's just like how do we decipher this? If our government has created something, and I say the government, it could be a nefarious group. People with Havana syndrome. A lot of times people try to point the finger at the Russians, but if it is this, then we have developed some kind of ability where they can tap into your wave forms in your brain and anticipate what you're going to say before you say it. That's the only way I could figure. And I try to look for prosaic reasons.
There's lots going on there. So like you have, so there's that ability to receive the message.
Yeah.
However, that is transmuted. So we can speculate on that, but
Yeah.
you're able to receive the message, and then by using this recording device, is circumstantial evidence, but also direct evidence once it's validated. Which this process is amazing.
Yes.
And those who are witness to the event can confirm that nothing's been tampered. So let's just assume all those variables are true in that event. But then you now have that extra level of confirmation that is existing perhaps outside of your mind,
Yes.
because it would have to be in order to record, unless that device is somehow able to record our thoughts. 'Cause
Correct.
then that would be something completely different. But who knows? Maybe the government's smart enough to figure that out. We don't know yet. That would be like the hugest invasion of privacy.
Exactly.
But so you have that ability. You're able to pick it up. You're hearing conversations that weren't there.
Correct.
Now, have you ever gone in depth to be like, hey, tell me about you. Where are you from? Why me? What am I doing? Like,
Yeah.
and have you been able to have that conversation to get more direct?
Yes.
Are you able to do that right now? Like, not on the spot, but like
Right,
how,
okay. I wish I could.
Yeah.
That would be the ultimate. I wish I could just answer, right here and now,
Mhm.
questions posed by your audience, have the ethereal
That
answer.
would be brilliant, but
It would be that would be the proof. I mean, not just evidence, but proof.
Mhm.
No, and I wish it would be that simple. They usually keep their expressions to a few words. The answers are never more than a sentence. All right. So I have one. I said, well, why me? Like, there's the question. And you have the being say, you're our favorite. Okay. What does that mean? All right. But it's manipulative. And I've called it.
Mhm.
I said, this is an obvious manipulation going on. This whole interaction. What do you want me to do? I mean, I'm not making a deal with the devil here. All right. I'm just, some people think that it's so scary that you're talking to invisible ethereal entities. Yeah. That's what they say they are. But my idea is that they could be something. You ever read Dr. Seuss's Horton Hears a Who?
A long time ago, but
The
yeah.
elephant. I'm almost playing the role of Horton, the big elephant with the big ears.
Okay.
Trying to tell the jungle, trying to tell everybody, hey, the who exists. Something here doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
So we isolate the phone. The researchers that they've had me, like I said, you can look online. I have the videos up from my interview with Dr. Gary Nolan. Everything's there for public consumption. If you go to that compendium site, it's got all the connections, and it ultimately have this interview that we're doing now. I'll also put it on the site. So,
Thank you. Am I looking at? Is this the right site that I brought up? Is this the site we're referring to, or is there another one? Okay.
That's it. So,
Okay.
and if you scroll down, once you go into it, you have to actually click on the section that has the and then you'll
read more. This part.
Yeah. That's where it opens up everything.
Okay.
My whole experience. All right. And again, this is We Are Not Alone Medium. That they let me have the page. It's a launch pad for all the things. I've been in papers, newspapers, as you said. I've been interviewed. Josh Gates, hanging, just so many connections. There's the make and model of the track phone. That's my go-to device because it works. It's nice and clean in the sense that you get really good EVPs with that device. And you can do like I said, side by side. The modern smartphones will not register it. If I even send the raw clip from the track phone to a modern smartphone, all right, that will not even register except my voice. The actual EVP portion will not be seen by the graphics on the modern smartphone. But yeah, you scroll down and it'll have examples. There's a lot of, stuff. I mean, it's chock full with stuff. And it's trying to get the audience that whole interaction, because later, explains my background. I like to play chess. So this is like a big puzzle to me. I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Is there anything specific where I could find to play some of this evidence? Maybe.
Oh yeah, scroll down. So I mean, you keep.
Yeah, you just let me know where that is here. I'm just.
You'll see down below. All right, now we're getting it. I've done some in the cemeteries. You get all kinds of different voices. Some of them are children. And so some of them are female. Some of them are male. Some of them sound elderly. So continue scrolling. And my son is actually he's going to revisit this. He says, I'm going to make it easier so people can just have all the evidence on one page, because I have everything. You just scroll through is like one giant page. So, and then my wife takes pictures and stuff. So that's for subterranean seance. That's me. It was in the paper. So they had a picture of me holding a rock, or rubbing me a rock, and continue scrolling down. And I've tried to not be too artsy fartsy with things, but obviously when I look at it, it's pretty much I'm trying to, have it all. Because the first documentary, I tried to make a EVP treasure hunt out of it too. You want to continue scrolling down. It's from the backyard of our house. The sun this summer had the haze from the smoke, the fires out west. That's a cool looking picture.
Yeah, that's cool. That's very nice.
But if you scroll down, you'll get to examples.
Yeah, no, I'm just going slow enough that those that are watching can actually look at the pictures.
These pictures were taken by Meng. She's a famous photographer from New York City. So she the whole idea of light and scattering, the idea of rainbows and all this stuff. She was going to have me pose my rainbow pigeon at one point, but I'm like, that's not about the pigeons. It's about, so this is
what's this? What are we looking at here?
So you're looking at a graphic of an EVP of mine. All right. Where they're saying that they're alien. All right. So you'll go down, you'll be able to hear it in a moment.
Perfect.
But yeah, so this is some artwork done, and this is by Cameron Logan. Maybe you're familiar with him.
I am not.
Another paranormal investigator.
Okay.
So it's using the track phone again, that model, and the whole concept of man and God and angelic beings. So we continue to scroll down. Yeah, this is, like I said, it's chock full. You could spend, honestly, at least half an hour. I know it says 17 minutes or something. That's a specific kind of fossil that, whatever reason, these beings like it as a symbol of what, and I don't understand it. It's a mystery to me. But this is a special kind of fossil you find only in Pennsylvania, St. Clair, Pennsylvania. It's like a ghostly fern fossil.
Wow.
Yeah, so I have some of those, and I'm like, okay, there's one, but it doesn't mean anything to me. But for whatever reason, they seem to like it. Now, this is my wife has one of these things for a camera. It's like a crystal ball, and we're on the leaf litter. All right, so, and then again, this is kind of artistically done. You want to continue scrolling, you'll get to the more pictures, more. This
You're
is
a strong
so much
guy holding that rock. Strong guy.
So this is an alien 3D spectrogram here. All right.
Okay.
This is actually a part of the research they did. So this is just the part where they say they're alien. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So this is how it would look graphically. Now, if you scroll down some more, this one originally was the clip that took you up to the election and where it said that Donald Trump would win. All right. Now, I chopped that part out. So if you play this, you'll hear the being say at a point, it's got some stuff in it.
So yeah, let's let everyone listen to it, and then we'll see what everyone hears. That way, it's not forced.
Yeah.
So let's give this a play here.
It's very quiet. I can't really hear the audio of the video.
So it's kind of difficult to hear with all that background noise. Okay.
Are you making that public? Because we can't. I mean, I can't hear it. You may be able to with your headphones.
Okay, I'll play it one more time. So no one can hear it at all, I guess? No one can hear it.
Yeah, I don't think we can
I
hear
see.
it.
Okay, I'm just getting messages here. So, okay, let me...
If you scroll down further, you'll actually get to some of the real clips. This was, like I said, this was taken, this clip makes it helpful voting, and it went into the Donald Trump would win the election, which we all know that didn't happen. I'm just
going to make a quick change here, and that way I didn't realize that no one could hear it. So 1 second.
Yeah.
I'm going to change to my onboard speakers here. and then I'll play it again. You should hear an echo in my, but I should be able to hear it. No.
Nope.
That's not working either. Okay, sorry about that. I'm not sure. I'm unable to play that live for some reason. I thought I could, but I guess I can't.
Well, it's on the website. If your audience wants to check out everything, including all kinds of sample clips, including the pigeon, there's all this stuff that I tried. Now, this is where the beings are speaking here too. At the beginning, this is me on the right hand side, right? And they're answering that they're otherworldly.
Okay.
All right, and then the bleeding edge audio people. Here's so the otherworldly would be one of the ones you'd click on, the one below that. That's the visual, and there, that's the clip.
Okay, and so you need audio for that one too.
Right.
So I'm not quite sure how I could tag this in live on the spot, and I don't want to eat up too much of the time. But let me see here.
So all of that is free. So again,
Okay.
what the little bit that I have, the 2 documentaries, like I said, the first documentary is called Subterranean Seance, and that
Okay.
came out in 2020, and that is twofold. It's artsy fartsy in the sense that it has an EVP treasure hunt, and then it has an investigation where I analyze several clips, and then basically say, hey, I'm looking for audience participation to help me analyze more. Then the second one, Frog Hollow Road, is the second one. Frog Hollow Road, second documentary, and like I said, both of these are priced like $2.99. They're really cheap on purpose because it's not like it's profitable. I want people to, but I have to host it somewhere, so that's where a few dollars there. But the Frog Hollow Road one is much more about the reports, about the forensic professionals who go on record, about more clips being analyzed and hired to a higher degree. And so this also comes with archives where a person can go through the reports at their leisure. I'll send them the reports, everything. So I want the audience to understand that this is some really crazy stuff, but these audio forensic professionals from all over the world, not just one group, because I want plurality. I want people to come to a consensus using different techniques, but all the scientific method, in the sense the same process. And yeah, it's amazing stuff. It's scary to comprehend that this is. I've been able to do a lot of this on my own because of the open source software, the open sites that allow you to do things, to analyze on your own, things that 20, 30 years ago, no one had access to except if you had lots of money.
So
and now,
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I understand where you're coming from. I'm just trying to think, because we can't show the evidence. So let's talk about, like how you think this is, like how this is possible. Like, so meaning you're able to use these devices and you're able to pick up these sounds, and then we're able to listen to it and forensically analyzing and verifying it. We don't know why it's you, and we don't know who it is, but
right.
What do you believe? You must. Where do you sit with that? You're raised Christian, but not Christian. Who is behind this? Who do you believe?
All right. So there's 2 parts, and I'm going to sound like a politician. One side of me is very rational and says this cannot be something supernatural. That there are nefarious groups that, and whether they're state actors or whether they're big corporate people using regular people as guinea pigs, whether they're broadcasting some kind of signal in the military sense, that's the rational part of me that says the alien exotic idea, the fringe, that just doesn't seem as likely. But that's my rational mind. My gut tells me no. In this case, we're not that advanced, and no matter what, our military and any kind of CIA op, they can't cover they couldn't be so sloppy to allow me to get this kind of evidence. It would make no sense that anyone would want to know, hey, we can already read people's minds and we can anticipate what they're going to say, and maybe even through this signal whisper in their ear to affect mind control or to have a person. So, because I can't interpret it on a conscious level, and there's always a subconscious or, that subliminal fingerprint that I was talking about in the clip. If that's true, what kind of defenses could we have against something like that? You talk about the tinfoil hat. I mean, so I interact with aerospace engineers as well. And I believe in Occam's razor. You know what that is, right? That
I am not familiar with that. No.
Occam's razor, the philosophy is the theory that has the least number of variables. The theory that is simplest is usually the right one, because the more exotic, the more exceptions you have to make for something to be true, the more likely that's not going to happen. That's not going to be the case. Almost like a weather forecast. When you have the storm has to do this, this, and this for you to get snow, it's probably not going to happen. But, the simplest explanation, Occam's razor, and it's OCC, you can look it up, is usually the right one because it's not so cumbersome. Doesn't mean it's impossible that something's not more complicated. So the Occam's razor to me and my gut feeling is that these are energies. Some would say, are they aliens? They say they're alien and otherworldly. They don't say they're ghosts, but I have evidence that they play games. So, and they like playing games, with us. They're kind of condescending. So I'm like, why should I trust anything you say? You're probably not even an alien. And so I try to be realistic here and say, my gut tells me that there's something that's not man-made. All right. That maybe ultra-terrestrial, something that's been invisible here, cryptid. I mean, I actually have one of these professionals in a different report that basically said that they believe there's a cryptid. That one of the things that they were able to peel away information-wise seemed to have them believe this is some kind of, like a ultra-terrestrial. I don't know. And and I have over 1,800 clips where I ask questions, and I've asked questions for researchers, and I've asked questions, obviously, personal reasons. I mean, the example to understand the kind of, not just pigeons, but the kind of trivia these creatures, beings, ethereal entities are into. During the beginning of the pandemic, the schools were closed and we were all working from home. All right. So the local school my kids go to was handing out food that they would usually have for the week. They were handing it out in boxes. You had to get in line. There's a long line around the school. You sit in your vehicle and you drive up and you get your food that your kids would have for the week. So we're in line. All right. And there's a sense of humor about these entities too. And a sense of humor that I have, which I think sometimes they latch on to maybe some similarities, and maybe that's the common denominator we have between us and them. That's a bridge we can build, the sense of humor. But we're waiting in line. Suddenly the ear ringing happens. My kids are in the back seat. All right. And we're sitting in my van, and I make a joke of saying, kids, I think I'm going to have to take this call, Now it's a joke, right? But I push record, and I didn't ask a question, but upon playback, a very strong Class A EVP is heard, and it's a voice that says, they don't use the food. Okay. So I have now a long-standing history already with interacting with these ethereal entities. And I'm like, okay, so we got our food, and I went home to my wife, and I said, is there something we're throwing away? Is there food that we're just tossing out? I said, because this is charitable. These people are giving it to us. She said, no. I said, because I feel like I'm being judged. I feel like I'm being accused of wasting food here by ethereal beings. And I said, what does this mean? And so she said, we give some to your parents. Why don't you go ask them? Because some of the stuff that we didn't use, like the rice and stuff. So I went down there, and mom and dad, they're like, oh, no, we don't like it. We just throw that in a trash can. And I'm like, oh, my gosh. So it doesn't mean that is the case, but there's a sense of these beings are making a report to someone. All right. You're like, okay, we're being judged. Yeah, you're wasting food, yet you're taking charitable food. It's just
see, when I'm listening to you describe that and hearing that, I'm thinking humans. I'm just thinking government, just from listening to it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it could be ethereal. It could
Right.
be supernatural, ultra terrestrial. It can be all those things until they tell you. But I mean, as far as the intent goes, if they are mischievous,
Yeah.
and they are intentionally trying to spoil or cause harm, I mean, that sounds like an operation. That sounds planned.
Right.
Because it's one thing to broadcast a message through these very low or high frequencies, and then all of a sudden we're able to pick them up, transmute that, and then communicate that, but not knowing where it comes from. But you're getting feedback. So whoever is responsible for it, is aware that it's communicating with you,
Right.
and is also aware that you are able to communicate with them. And then at that point, it becomes a whole different game of possession, if you will, or visitation, because you're now communicating.
Right.
So when you communicate with them, and by them, you don't know if it's the same, you don't know if it's others and multiple, or do you? Can you tell the difference between one being or another?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Let me describe it like this. Each being, there's a certain voice that comes with certain beings, and the being, if it comes and speaks another time, like I said, they always seem to be tasked with the same message. So a certain voice will have a certain kind of message. So I have like a little boy. It sounds like a little boy talking to me, and he calls me daddy. All right, now think about that. And he says, "Daddy, do this. Daddy, do." So this voice is always prescriptive, saying do something, get the blood work, things like that. So and I got the blood work for that, and I found out I was pre-diabetic. But I'm just like, okay. But then you have a female voice who sounds almost like a grandmother. All right, now a little backstory here, which is important. Context is important. My wife, her name is Antje. She heralds from what used to be East Germany. All right. And she's been in the States now since 1990. We got married in 2000, but she's in the late 90s. And the beings know her name, but when they talk, and they will talk to her through this devices, I'm saying she doesn't get the earring, but I know when I say, okay, push record. They say the female voice that says her name sounds Germanic, sounds the way, because her name is Anya. Right. The way they say it, that clip I could also share, but again, I don't know how we do it here. They say they are able to inflect. Now, again, is it a game? I am so open-minded. And when I say that, maybe you can say undecided, that in my mind, there could be one small microbe of an entity that's sentient, that is aware, that has the ability to be a ventriloquist. All right. You look at the sense of, I'm going to be even more open with the humor. All right. One time I was doing a session. That's what I call it. And I've taped myself. I don't fall into some trance. I don't do any kind of chants. There's no, I don't have to, go through any kind of ritual to get an interaction. So when this happens and I film myself, I'm not, talking out the side of my mouth. I'm not going and having seizures. This has all been tested by others as well. I went to Johns Hopkins and stuff. So there are big studies going on. It's crazy stuff. But the one time I had some very spicy food that made me gassy. Okay. So right before this session, I, passed gas. I farted. Okay. Now listen. So as soon as the ear ringing starts and I push record, upon playback, you hear a female voice saying, "He let a stinker." Okay.
Oh wow.
Now think about it. Just the idea that if it is something otherworldly that I can't perceive.
They understand the culture. They understand what happens. They understand us. So there is that human element. So it could be government alive in this world, or it could be humans who have passed on.
Sure.
I mean, there's or interdimensionally, someone is watching, someone is observing, someone is paying attention.
Yeah.
So I mean, what are they telling you to do? Because there's evidence that you guys can communicate, and there's evidence that that you talk and they receive, and they know that if they talk, you hear. Right. So if they were in control, what are they telling you to do?
They want. Here's what they want me to do. They
Mhm.
want me to. This is what I'm doing. Tell the world that they exist. Like Horton Hears a Who. They
Mhm.
want to be known. They for whatever they crave attention. They want the world to know they exist. That's it. And so I said when I was making the documentary, I said, "So, do you like this idea to make a short documentary to share with people?" Now, the answer that came right away after I asked the question was, "We're down with it." They have a dated expression. Then when I would even put it the word stinker, "We're
Mhm.
down with it." It sounds 70s to me. It sounds. I mean, it
Mhm.
sounds. It sounds again out of what we would expect the answer to be. So it's crazy stuff. I don't know.
We have a super chat. Thanks, Timmy, the
Yeah.
demon guy. Says, have you ever made life decisions based on the communication you have had? Good
No.
question.
No, and then when I was going to sell those pigeons anyway, so I did sell them, but no, it wasn't because they told me to.
Pigeons.
Those white homing pigeons. When
Yep.
they said sell them, I was like, well, that's the answer I expected, and that's the answer I wanted, and so and just I've asked, everybody's like, well, why don't you just ask them for the winning Powerball numbers? All right,
Right.
I've asked that question, and I get an answer: impossible. All right. So there's a disappointment here. And I said, and I try to rational. I say, if you just let me win through the
Mhm.
supernatural means,
Mhm.
maybe even if you just know the future a few minutes in advance, that's all I need to be able to pick the right numbers. If you tell me, I said, the world will believe if you make me the next Powerball winner. And I say, that these are that I have the recording where they gave me the numbers. I said, then
Mhm.
they'll believe instantly. But that's
But
not. It's
there's so that's another level
yeah,
because
it is.
like you're communicating with something in this present moment right now. So how do
Right.
you know if if though maybe those people are also present right now? But
Right.
then you said dated, so maybe it sounded 70s, maybe they're a little older,
Maybe.
or they're communicating with you from the 70s into the future and or something like
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
there's so many variables on where this could come from.
Right. And you're right. And that's it. That's
It's
what's
hard.
mystifying. See,
Mhm.
I, I it's a puzzle. And,
Have they ever told you to do anything bad?
never, no, they're
That's
not.
good,
And
good.
I was going to say earlier, I alluded to, I know their weakness, or at least one of them, when they've offended me. And
Okay.
I have been, there's just like the vulgarity sometimes, the F word, do this,
Mhm,
saying, just the attitude. Because I
mhm,
once went in we had a little break, and it was when I was still tethered to the library to interact. And I went and I said, "So did you miss me?" Because I was on vacation. And the playback is F you, fuck you, I'm like, okay, are we a negative spirit? Or I'm just saying, so that attitude, I do believe that when I said about the weakness, so I said, if you're going to continue being so negative, I'm not going to push record anymore. I said, I don't have to listen to anything but the signal, but I don't know what you're saying and what you want. I said, so this relationship depends on me interacting with you and pushing record. And I said, and anyway, why should I at all ever be concerned or feel threatened by a whisper? That's nothing. That's all they are, whispers. They have no and I said, you have no real material reality in my realm. I said, you're a whisper, so you need me. And then right after that, no joke, 15 times in a row, the next recordings, we're sorry. Number one, they speak plurally, whether it's true or not, I don't know. We are sorry, because they crave that interaction. They need it. So that's a weakness. That number one, they want attention, but number two, that obviously by me saying, hey, if this is all you are is a little whisper that I can record, what kind of power do you really have? I said, I haven't done it, but they've never said to do anything bad. Um, but they are naughty at times. They are mischievous. The sense of humor comes across in many ways. I'm just giving you a glimpse of that. And I have in other interviews that I've had, I've even said, I believe that is something that we have in common, a sense of humor, even though theirs is a little
mhm.
warped and twisted. But what if what if these beings are kind of like, and I'm going to date myself here. In the 70s, Robin Williams, Mork and Mindy. You familiar with that? Yeah. That maybe they're cosmic comedians. Maybe they think that this is funny. And even though it can be vulgar, Richard Pryor back in his stand-up routine. Oh my gosh. I mean, yeah, it was just, but it was great. And Eddie Murphy. So you can
I was just going to say Eddie Murphy. You read my mind. You read my mind.
No, I have no talents. I'm no one special. I keep going back to that. People say, some people say this is demonic, and I said, I could imagine a more sinister demon than this. I said, this is comic. I said, this is at times this is ridiculous to the point where it's so absurd and ludicrous, and I'm a nobody. But I do know one thing, and I said, and I talked to people and researchers. I said, I can stand on the evidence. I said, I have the ironclad evidence that when this happens, scientifically, we can't understand how it can go through a Faraday pouch, how I can interact with whatever they are. That if they're just electromagnetic signals, that that Faraday pouch should stop. And this is military grade Faraday pouch. This isn't some joke. And so just a smaller version of a Faraday cage, which your audience, if they look it up, they can find that that keeps you can't receive texts or make calls inside a Faraday pouch or cage.
Yeah, it isolates the transmission inside the bag or the pouch. Yeah,
right. So we've had, like I said, we've looked at it from so many different angles. The evidence speaks for itself. That's what I always put.
Have you ever used more than one device at the same time and I pick up the same EVP?
Oh yeah, I have done more than one device at the same time. The same kind of track phone, the same EVPs picked up simultaneously. But if you have this modern smartphone with that group, that, like I said, that modern smartphone with the filtering algorithms, that's what the researcher, I wish I could give his name, but I know he wouldn't want that. He's Canadian. But he's quite visionary. Anyhow, the modern smartphones, the filtering algorithms they use eliminate white noise. White noise seems to be something that the ambient white noise, a little bit that's there, they need it to craft again through energy, whatever they are able to affect that white noise and create what can be considered, especially today with the computers that are objective. See, if this was just pareidolia, it would be people hearing it. Now, computers are objective. I understand. Ultimately, there is an element that the computer programmer makes the computer, so there can be a subjectivity in that. I understand that, but I'm saying these computer programs they're using are state of the art, and they're uncovering subliminal.
Do you once you've isolated the audio file and you've cleaned it up, you verified it can be heard in the best possible form, and it's sectioned off.
Yeah.
Do you distribute that to like a sample of people to listen to?
Sure, I can do it. Send you copies. I mean, anyone who makes a request.
Well, what I mean is like when we talk about pareidolia, the audio pareidolia, the way that comes into effect is if you tell me that the word says alien,
right?
I'm listening. I'm already listening to alien, so I'm already primed for that.
Right.
So if you take the EVP, once you have it, it's fine, and then you give it to a blind sample that doesn't know what it is, and just ask them all to write down, hey, what do you hear?
Yes, it's
and
been done.
So even doing that, what's the consensus on that? Did they all come to something?
That actually the researchers, that's what they've wanted. They do not want my suggestion, so they want it to be totally raw, without me influencing or aliasing the outcome by saying, hey, this is what I hear. So yes, we have done those clips.
So if you do send that stuff through the form of the report, I would want you not to suggest that to me, so that way I can listen to it,
absolutely,
and do a blind sample as well with our team to make sure, and then tell you what we hear, and then go from there.
Yeah,
that
that's
would be
great.
Brilliant. That'd be brilliant.
Oh, okay. I'd love to. And we have interacted through email, so it's not a problem at all. I can set you up with whatever, and we could also do some remote viewing tests. I mean,
well, we could do a whole bunch of things, and then if we do another show, I can have some of these properly prepped. If I knew my sound wasn't going to work, but there is a way I can bring it into the show. I just didn't. I didn't realize we were going to be showing that. So we definitely always do a round two.
Oh, excellent.
I'm just gonna mention here that our guest only has 90 minutes tonight, so he will be leaving about 20 minutes.
Yeah,
20 minutes or so. So I'm skipping the commercial break. I'll play it at the end. And then what we'll do is I'll just hang out and talk to the guests and the comments. Sorry, our participants, and for the last little bit, and we'll go from there. So since we only have 20 minutes left,
Any questions, please?
well, I'm just thinking to myself, you've seen the show, right? Have you seen the show this season?
You mean this season?
Yeah, like
January? No.
Okay, perfect. All right, because I have to do a new segment, which is called "Sorry, Not Sorry," and if you haven't seen it yet, then this is great. So let me see here. Let me find the little video here. So this is "Sorry, Not Sorry." One second. All right, so here are the rules. I'm going to ask you one question, and I'm going to time how long it takes you to answer it.
All right.
After that, I'm going to share an alleged fact from a very controversial conspiracy theory, and it's a social experiment. So do you accept that challenge?
I do accept your challenge, yes.
Okay, so let me get my watch ready here. So with all your knowledge and experience in this life, what shape is the Earth?
Okay. What I've been scientifically told, or you're talking about just through my own senses?
What shape is the Earth? Answer the question. You're at 10 seconds.
Oblate spheroid, but
Okay.
I haven't flown around the entire Earth to prove that. So I have been in a plane, and you can see that the horizon bends, and so science says that it's an oblate spheroid.
Okay, but what do you say?
I say that that there seems to be, it's round.
There's no wrong answer. I'm not an astronaut. You're not an astronaut.
No, I'm not, and I've never been more than a few miles up in jet planes and stuff. And a friend of the family, when I was a boy, take me in his crop duster, and we'd be flying over my house, and like I said, my wife's from another part of the world, which, as I was traveling back and forth, you can see the curvature to a degree. Obviously, the higher you get, the more you can see of that. So if I'm a flat earther, no.
I'm not asking that question. It's just so the whole point of that is just to see how long it takes someone to ask, and then you think from that. So
Right.
this book that I have is a book on flat Earth alleged facts. But what it does is it uses the Bible as a source to confirm that the fact is true. So the social experiment is basically, some people use the Bible to also support the possibility and existence of extraterrestrials and demons and ancient aliens and all that other stuff. So on that same context, it's like, okay, well, if we accept it for that, can we accept it for this? So I'm just going through random facts in this book. So the point of this is I'm just going to read what they say. And they say that Earth has a center. And based on that comes from this passage, Jubilees 8, chapter 18:20. And the reference to that having Earth as the center, it says, "And Noah rejoiced that this portion came forth from Shem and for his sons, and he remembered all that he had spoken with his mouth in prophecy, for he had said, Blessed be the Lord of Shem, and may the Lord dwell in the dwelling of Shem. And he knew that the Garden of Eden is the Holy of Holies, and the dwelling of the Lord, and the Mount Sinai to the center of the desert, and Mount Zion, the center of the navel of the earth. These three were created as the holy places facing each other, and he blessed the God of gods who had put the word of the Lord into his mouth, and the Lord forevermore." So what that means also with Genesis 2:10 is, "And a river went out of Eden," or Aden, "to the water of the garden, and from thence it was parted and became into four heads." And what they're suggesting is that the Garden of Eden is in the center of the earth, which would be the Arctic Circle. So the purpose of me reading that is not to push it, but to have a conversation on whether or not that's plausible. I am an investigator. This is a social experiment. There's no right or wrong answer.
Right. I haven't really thought much about that, given that information and stuff. Bible's, I look at it from my background in literature. It is definitely been influential Western culture.
Mhm.
As far as sacred text, I mean, there are certain parts of it that seem to be uh, close to what I would
Well, see,
call
you're
divine.
questioning the Bible. So if the Bible's not a good source, because you were raised Christian, not
Right,
Christian, so that's
right,
already out the window in terms of being source material. Otherwise,
right,
you still be Christian.
right.
So the question is it possible for there to be a landmass in the center of the Earth, as these flat earthers claim, and they use this Bible passage to as a piece of evidence that validates what they're saying?
Yeah, I mean, anything could be possible. I'd have to look. I think the data doesn't suggest that. Whether the Earth has a molten core or
Hmm.
has a solid core. I mean, I think the thinking right now is it has a solid core by how uh, tectonics have taken place. But again, I'm not privy to the data to actually say, I feel one way or another. I've heard different takes on it. I have a degree. I had, basic science and stuff in college as well. Yeah, so I'm open-minded, but I need to see more data.
Yeah, no, it's all good. So I think the message in this one is essentially that in the center, so where the Arctic Circle is, there's a continent. That could be Eden. So maybe let's talk about Eden, the Garden of Eden. Where do you think Eden is
Hmm.
or was?
Well, historically, I everything changes with time, but
Mhm.
Eden in the Middle East, Sumeria region, Iraq, maybe Mesopotamia. I'm so like when it comes to that, I don't know. I don't know enough information. Um, just like people say about Atlantis and did it exist and then it was destroyed by tsunami or whatever. Um, well, I mean, I'm unconvinced either way. So the same thing with Eden. Do I believe in the literal Eden, Garden of Eden? No, I do not.
Some say that Atlantis could be Eden as well.
Yeah, that's possible. I mean,
We all be
uh,
the same thing.
right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
I think these are great myths that have buoyed our understanding of our place
Mhm.
in the universe to at least have us, have a sense of like some cosmic greatness.
Mhm.
Um, whether because in the Garden of Eden when we were cast out, then there's an angel or angels with flaming swords to keep us from ever going back inside. And the whole serpent and the serpent apparently had legs because it was cursed to be on its belly after the fall. Yeah, I don't. Like I said, a lot of this I really believe it's just mythology, part of the human quest to understand our place in the cosmos.
And yeah, and that's
Yeah,
one of the major problems too
yeah.
is that there's so much that is driven and created from that text
Mm.
for many different reasons and many different ways, and a lot of people are go by that book,
Sure.
and it's tough. It's really tough.
Yeah,
Uh,
and from my take, just this endeavor I'm undertaking to share some bizarre message
mhm.
about ethereal or at least invisible
But
sentient being.
even
It's
that's in the
crazy.
Bible. Even that's
Yeah,
in the Bible.
I
How do you think,
know.
the prophet's talking to God?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
that's no different. It's in
right.
the
So
it's all in the Bible. So the
it's
Bible, as far as I'm concerned, so my actual Bible from back in the day when I was in Bible school, but I mean, I'm studying that. There's aliens in the Bible.
oh yeah, yeah.
I assure you there are
Think about
aliens in this
well,
Bible.
and angels are aliens, and Ezekiel, the wheel within a
Mhm,
wheel, and
mhm.
well, the angelic figures. I mean, yeah, what we call angels, they did back then. Today, maybe we call aliens. I mean,
So
a real angel is frightening to behold. All the eyes and stuff. You talk about some of the descriptions, and
mhm.
that's alien to us. I mean, that doesn't look like us at all.
No,
They
no,
may be
I
able to. Yeah,
Yeah, no, that's the thing. It's just we in this community understand use, that stuff is what we're using as facts sometimes, and like in a large scale that it was written in the Bible, so therefore that's what happened.
right.
But yet the same people in the community get mad at the people that claim that the Earth is a different shape because NASA lies, which is a known fact.
I see the T-shirt you're wearing.
Yeah, thank you. My lovely wife supports my theories here, so she encourages me. But yeah, so I mean that's where I'm trying to understand is what's the difference, because a lot of people fight and they argue, and what I want is more unity and more people working together and understanding that they could be right about some things, we could be right about other things. It doesn't matter who's right, but we got to work together. So what I'm hearing in this, and as far as unity goes, you understand that you are doing it, you're receiving it, you understand the scientific method, you are giving this to big people. Bigelow is significant. Joshua Gates, he's these are people that on television, but but I mean, it's still getting out there in mainstream.
Yeah.
So why hasn't anyone scooped you up and hired you and put you to work? Because like this could be used.
It could be, and I have there's a plan in place. Like I said, it was Gary Nolan, Dr. Nolan, with Stanford University, and he's got his associates with Harvard. So I mean, you end up. I also have a life. I don't want to be constantly. Yeah. Like I said, I try to keep it to 10% of my time. Right? I have a wife and kids, and the last thing they want is this constant adventure, which could take them away from what they enjoy doing too. And so, right now, I'm doing this from home. This interaction with you, and I appreciate the opportunity to share. But it is something that I'm in for the long haul. I think that I have the evidence. I have the right circle of people who are continuing the investigation. Hopefully we'll continue this with you as well, so that we can continue to make progress and ultimately understand whatever it is, what's going on here. Because right now I'm 70% in the corner of this is supernatural. Right. I'm also, there's a part of me that says there's a possibility that some of the tech and stuff that our government or some government has developed, CIA, could do some of this to imitate some kind of extraterrestrial, ultra-terrestrial, interdimensional experience. But my heart just, the bigger the conspiracy, the same thing with the Occam's razor, the more cumbersome, the more likely somebody's going to find out. And for somebody to have been able to hide that kind of 80 to 100 years ahead tech, where they're doing mind control, and the end result is that Trump didn't win the election. All right. So to plant that, and I was told, like I said, this was somebody within that circle, the billionaire circle, who said you cannot put that clip into public circulation. It's too controversial. It's going to stir the pot. We don't know what the agenda of these entities is. And I can't imagine the CIA or anybody wanting to play that kind of mind game with a nobody like me. Why don't you do it with somebody who actually can do something that would cause waves? Because I kind of brush it off and this is got an element of humor here. But going back to what you said earlier, and I want to absolutely endorse what you said. Whatever I'm interacting with is all too human. And that means good and bad. That means the foibles, the peculiarities, the at times meanness, and at other times the uplift. So if they are angelic or deep, the whole spectrum is being shown, right? But my feeling is that, and this is a feeling. This isn't about the evidence. The feeling is this is something supernatural, mystical. This is something different than AI. So somebody out there said, well, could it be that somebody has already got artificial intelligence? They're beaming this stuff into everybody's brains to affect an outcome, probably not a good one. It's usually about control. And you just happen to be one who stumbled across the beaming of the AI program, which there is an element when you hear these clips, when they say they're otherworldly or they say they're alien, a lot of times there's a quality that is almost robotic. One investigator said it sounds a little bit like 80s voice interface. Are you familiar with Brian Rommel?
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
So yeah, so this person is part of the AI. So that's his forte, and it's like the way that it's being created is an echo of older technology from the early 80s. That I'm saying that the kind of voice to speech interface with computers. So I can't imagine if it was a big CIA operation to control the masses, that they'd be using a voice synthesized quality from the early 80s. And he knows his stuff. So for that to be the case would say, man, we hadn't progressed much at all. And we're just tinkering with old technology to try to control people. It has so many exceptions and exclusions I have to make this be the case. So I'm like, no, that's why I'm not in the camp that this is that.
Well, see, it's still dangerous because like
Yeah.
it's good that they're telling you to do positive things and you're trusting it and you're listening to it, and there's evidence that whatever they're doing is able to make that connection. So that experiment, even if it's an experiment, there's evidence to show that whatever they're doing is working. So that's part of it. They're exhibiting some sort of transcommunication, however they're doing it, and it's connecting with you, it's connecting with me, it's connecting with other people who have this psychogenic connection. Now, are they just prepping us to trust us so that way they can go one step further because they know that they can connect with you?
It's possible.
That's also possible, which is very scary. So we have to, we need to do these, protections and things like that to make sure that, everything's all good in there. But how, like you said, like this, because it's in our minds, mind control, it's very easy for them to say it's all in your head, or you're mentally ill, or is psychotic. Like all these words get thrown out. So it's empowering and endangering at the same time. So where I fit on this, that makes it really hard, and why I think it's always humans or always lead to that human thing, is it just seems like an operation. It seems to control, because if it was extraterrestrial and they have this higher power and they have this ability in order to tell us and lead us to go to do these great things, couldn't they make it a little bit more obvious for us? What is that? But we don't know that. That's still speculation.
Sure.
So what I always say, and what you're already doing, and you don't need to tell you, but just for everyone else who's listening that has this psychogenic experience as well, just make sure the voices are good, and don't just make sure you're verifying and validating that it's good for the collective before you act on it. And if they're guiding you along a path, I mean, you guided us together. I mean, my guides are guiding me. Everyone's guiding everyone in these directions, and sometimes we're just meant to cross paths.
That's true.
I mean, you've been trying to get on the podcast since last year, and then we've just been busy, and then finally here, and then here we are. So maybe
it's great.
All these things, synchronicities are important too.
Absolutely, I believe that, and that's why, again, I'm so appreciative to be part of this, to engage other people who also have similar experiences, who have the curiosity, who have the means to assess the data in ways that I can't, because I'm not tech savvy. And a lot of these, like earlier, the reference to clips, I don't go and filter and do. I know some people with EVPs, they're chopping them up, and I'm telling you, you can put a noise through a lot of filters and make it sound like something you want it to. Anything that I would send to you, that I would say that is you to interpret. I mean,
this is the thing: is you as an experiencer, you do not need to prove to anyone that your experiences are valid and real. Right. For you to submit your evidence to me, the hope is, especially with the conversation that we have, or at least the understanding is so that way we can verify it and use that to encourage others to come forward.
Absolutely.
But you as an experiencer, you do not need validation. You do not need to be hanging out with these people and doing that, because but you're pursuing the hidden mysteries of nature and science. You are you are doing that, and I want to commend you for that. So thank you very much for your service on that.
Thank you.
So we made it. We're at 9:30. You got to go. But before you go, tell everybody how they can find you, where they can find you, say your website, everything. Let them know. All the links are in the description as well. But say them for those listening.
Yeah, my name's Gary Arnold, and if you look up Gary Arnold and you look up "We Are Not Alone," just one word run together. So Gary Arnold, "We Are Not Alone" Medium. That is going to get you to my Compendium Launchpad site. It's got everything I've done and what I'm interacting with. This will soon be linked on there as well. I'm just trying to share everything with people so that they can take it and run with it, hand off the baton, because it really is. It's about all of us together being involved in this. The 2 short documentaries I have, again, both of them together are less than a McDonald's Happy Meal. That's why I mean, it's just like, that's just for hosting and stuff, and their quality and stuff. So I can continue. I'm going to do some more filming and stuff for another documentary. I'm not a filmmaker. A lot of people, that's what people in newspapers are. Oh, the filmmaker. I work in academia. I'm not a filmmaker. I said, this is something so much more than I'm not. That's a joke. I'm not a filmmaker at all. But what if you go out there and online, you'll find more and more of the information.
Are your documentaries on your website?
Yeah, everything's on there. So
Okay.
at the Compendium site, you'll be able to the links, everything you need. Radio interviews I've done, lots of podcasts, newspaper, Josh Gates, everything. So it's all there. Gary Nolan. So yeah, just keep the ball rolling. The Nashville network, all that. I mean, it's all out there for public consumption.
I had this one queued before we leave, but there you are with Josh Gates.
Yes,
right there. You
great
look
guy.
happy. Super happy. Both of
Yes,
yous.
he's a good guy.
Nice. That's good. Good. Cool. Tell him I said hi. I'd like to meet him one day.
Yeah,
He's a
great.
cool guy. Cool guy. I like watching his shows. All right. Well, then I guess you can leave
All right.
if you'd like. What I'll do then is I'll just continue to talk to our audience.
All right.
Thank you so much, Gary, for being here, and
Thank you.
we will definitely be in touch.
Absolutely. I'm going to send you some stuff, and I think you'll love it. So
Perfect. Use the reporting system though, so that was done properly. All right.
We got it. Thank you.
All right. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye now. All right, everybody. Here we are. That was great. I don't know. I got CC and Sil still in the back. Do you guys want to come in for this? Just give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Thumbs up for CC. What about you, Sil? Thumbs up. Bring you in. All right. Hey, how you guys doing? How was that?
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, that was really good. Good job. I have a lot of questions, probably more than I would like after that, but some interesting things popped in my mind, like maybe time travel is a component of all this. Like maybe he's communicating with some beings that are not even in this timeline.
That's very plausible too. When he said, like you said, 70s, like he's getting those time indicators, right? And that's why I was saying, how do we know if it's just someone who's aged from the 70s or someone actually in the 70s?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's very possible. What do you think, Sil?
It could be like kind of like an interstellar thing. Is that what you're thinking? Like stuck in a time and in a totally different like dimension, but still the veil is super thin. Like
the ultra spectrum.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, like they're stuck in a different timeline, communicating to him. Like,
now,
I don't know, they're on Earth maybe,
but would that make them human? Or you know, humans from the 70s? Or are we talking like hippie aliens? You know, like where are we where are we going with that?
Yeah, maybe more along the lines of hippie aliens. Who knows?
it could be possible. All right.
And I don't think it sounds like he really knows whether they're good or bad, or, you know, does good or bad really even exist in those dimensions? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
It's perspective though, right? What's good for you is bad for someone else, and that depends on choices in life. Like that's what I'm saying, that this human element is just so. And he mentioned simple. The simple solution is blaming the humans. He might be talking to a human being in the 70s who's aware of this technology, trying it, not knowing they're going into the future, but they're getting this connection. Right? How
do they know what he's gonna say? How is there that like super telepathic connection? That to me wouldn't explain that. I don't know, maybe if it was from the 2070s and maybe it's somebody going backwards,
But
but
are
I
we
don't
gonna
know.
go back to the hippie stage? Are we really gonna like? Are we going backwards? Unless there's
I
a
want to know what
reset
happened to
happening.
JFK.
Yeah, that
Everything.
would a
I would go
rewind.
back to a bunch of times for sure.
Hmm.
I just thought another thing that was funny, like he mentioned, oh, it could be paranormal.
Hmm.
He wasn't sure. He was discussing what it could be, right? And I can respect that because I um I often feel that way. And one of the things he held up was a fossil, and he was like, "Oh, they like the symbol on this thing." And it
Hmm.
kind of was like, well, maybe he's dealing with a like a Nordic god or something, a deity like Loki or something too. That's
Oh, a
possible.
trickster.
Some kind of trickster.
Yeah, trickster.
Hmm.
See, like my analytical brain is like, so what I'm hearing is he can communicate with them back and forth. So like,
Yeah.
gotta ask
Yeah.
better questions, right? Like, so if be like, okay, who are you? Okay, who are you really? Are you this? Yes or no? Like, try to weed it all out, weed these theories out. But like he said,
Yeah.
otherworldly, and what was the other word he used? Ethereal.
Jinn.
Off.
Yeah.
Yeah, ethereal, so not like without a body. So I just sent you a link. So that was another thing I wanted to look at was he has all these, audio, and we briefly looked at them, but he has
Hmm.
like what it says, like, or what he's claiming it's saying there. And I kind of really struggle with that because I'm somebody that like if I read that, I'm probably going to hear that. It's going to influence how I hear. And what I shared was that whole, audio illusion, the Yanni Laurel thing, and then the Green Needle brainstorm. Those words sound very different if you say them. But,
Oh yeah, I know. Oh yes, I know
right?
exactly what you're
Okay.
talking about.
So that's what
Um,
I was curious, like, if he had any audio that didn't have that writing on it.
I'm gonna hit play and see if you guys can hear it. I don't know if that one just wasn't working. Hold on, can you hear this? Can you hear that?
No.
No.
Can't hear that at all. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I have to load videos up in order for it to play. But
Okay.
so this phenomenon. So for I'll put this link actually in the comments for everyone.
Sure.
So I can explain it because I've heard it before too. It's just when the word green needle comes up, you hear green needle. And then when the word, what's the other one?
Brainstorm.
Brainstorm comes up, you hear brainstorm, but it's the same audio file. The audio doesn't change. So that is what I was getting to with this audio pareidolia. Is once it's suggested to you, you can your mind and your brain and your ears associate that.
Yeah.
So with these EVPs, especially for an investigation and evidence of what, right? Because there's so many explanations for an electronic voice phenomenon because it's audio and you don't have any visuals. So like, how do you know as an investigator myself that no one else is in the room because I can't see that? So there's a lot of trust you kind of have to give to these Class A EVPs in the sense when you're working with an experiencer, and forget about those variables unless you can recreate the event where you are, and once it's suggested, it can't be unseen.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the research that Sil and I have been doing on some of these interesting theories that we've been talking about lately. Once we see it, once we understand it and comprehend it, we can't go back to looking at the things the same way. It's like that awoken kind of phase. So to come back to that or to compare that, that's also suggestive. Did we get a message from the gods to learn this information, to be awoken at that level, to comprehend at that level, so we see the same things differently? Was that intentional by the gods or coincidental? He hears alien, but is there a voice inside his head at the same time saying alien, and then he hears alien? Like, is he also hearing it, like he said, as well as it being recorded?
Yeah.
So at that point,
Yeah, that would be a
what we
good
have
question.
is a medium who can hear it and then an electronic device that confirms that it was heard. So if I were to do an experiment with him, I'd be like, okay, think it, record it. What did you say? Perfect. Play it back. God damn it. How did you do that? And so that's how we would test. That's how I would test that.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
uh,
That's what I was curious about too. If he was actually, it sounded to me like he was stating that he could hear it and then also record it, and the recording was like proof that
well, yeah,
it
because
was validation
there's
to
that
him.
bit of a time delay that would allow us to test it that way.
Yeah.
With remote viewing, the same thing too is I could pick an object and say, like remote, tell me what this is. And if he does it, he does it. Like, I mean, it's just controlling the variables. But then where that comes into play is, can the audience who's observing that trust me enough that I didn't tip them off before that? So there's those so many layers in this onion for belief. That's why I was saying to him at the end, like, as long as you know and you're doing it and you're comfortable with it, then don't worry about testing it unless you want to contribute that to help others understand that. And that's how we build the case. So it's just, I don't know, like, we're going to get haters every time I mention this stuff. We lose some, we gain some. Some are still scratching their heads. But
Well, I mean, like, you have to get to a place where it doesn't bother you, and if it does bother you, why does it bother you so much?
that's what I get
and
into.
I think it's it. And I asked myself that question, and that's because if somebody would mention like flat Earth, I would be so triggered. Like,
It used to be. It
oh
used
my,
to be.
so triggered. It made me so
The Earth is
angry.
not flat. What are you fucking talking about?
Yeah,
Blah, blah,
like
blah.
it. And
To,
I was
oh my
like, but
God,
wait,
Ryan.
there's a part of your spiritual healing where like you have to really ask yourself, why does that make me angry? Like, why am I getting triggered by that? And I think the biggest thing was control, because I was like, then that means that they are completely in control of us, because they have controlled our minds to think their way. And we're also in somewhat of a prison here. And there could be a lot more. Like, that's just the beginning. If
Just the very thought of the idea, that I think I agree with you, because that's what most people are angry with, because the science and the suggestion and the theory and all that other stuff makes sense, but it's not being mad about that. It's what comes with it. Exactly. It would mean that they were lied to. It would mean that everything they studied and worked hard for meant nothing. Like, it's just one thing that changes everything.
Yeah.
And the same thing is existence in ufology. If the government says, hey, UFOs exist, then that's going to change the whole world too. Like, it's no different. And people are going to get mad at that as well. Because, oh no, God is good and God wasn't an alien and all these other things, blah blah blah. Those people will be mad when we're all like, hey, no, aliens exist. It's no different. And it comes down to, yeah, you're right, Priscilla. It's we're being lied to, and we don't want to know that. We live in this world. We're being told to do things a certain way for a certain purpose, and to learn that we've been lied to all along for any reason, that's enough to send anyone off the deep end.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it comes down to. And some people won't ever choose to believe or to even acknowledge, alternative realities, I guess.
But then we don't need to preach it. We don't need to convince them. But if we know, then what do we do with it, right? And then we just move forward, and then we end up exactly where we need to be, because regardless of whether it's aliens or ghosts, as an example, if it's telling you to do good things, and by doing good things your life is great, then it doesn't really matter what it is. But if you believe it to be a ghost and one believes it to be an alien, and you're both doing great things, who cares? We're together. If the Earth is round, if the Earth is globe, if the Earth is oblique and spherical from our 11-second answer. That's the record. I'm just saying that, Gary, because I assume you're going to watch the replay because we're talking about you. It doesn't matter what shape the Earth is. It really doesn't matter because we're stuck here. We're moving. We can't confirm it. But yet people fight with that debate, and with the science, so much science that proves it's possible, the effort that goes into it, and then science that goes to prove that the other side is possible, but yet they're not the ones going to space. These guys are. And these guys that go to space provide these CGI haphazardly videos that the common folk are supposed to accept as being a real thing. And so
that's the part that gets me the most, I think, because I want to believe that we're spending all that money to go explore space and we're getting these awesome pictures and we have these capabilities,
but
and
yet,
really flat earth theories like, no, we have nothing. Like, we can't even get a freaking picture of the Earth. Like, meanwhile, we could put a satellite out and get Google Earth. Like, what's this? Do the opposite.
I know,
Yeah.
so there, it's got to be part of it or not, and then can you believe it? What can't you believe? It really doesn't matter. So I guess the take home, like Priscilla's saying, like with the anger, let's just not be angry. Let's just acknowledge that there's two sides to every theory, and that if we stop fighting with the opposing sides and put our heads together like we're doing right now, maybe we'll land somewhere in the middle. Like most people, that safe answer is oblique and sphere. That is a safe answer for someone who doesn't believe in the globe earth theory, but isn't confident enough to say that it's flat. So saying it's oblique and spherical is kind of that middle zone, but that indicates to me they're on the fence. And the fact is that in order for someone to be on the fence, they would have to question it internally, that the information that we're provided is also questionable.
Yeah.
And they don't trust the people that's providing the information. But that doesn't mean that the government is lying. It's just the government has lied about things in the past. So therefore, we think that because they lied about this, they're lying about that, because it's this thing that is happening is causing a lot of stress to us. Pandemic as a case, as an example, that could be a lie. It might not be, but because there's a track record of us not trusting them, it's really hard. This is like a boy who cried wolf scenario, and it very well could be a real thing, but you kind of screwed the pooch, like on a global level or a circular level. What's the proper term for that?
I don't know anymore.
Oblique. A triangle. Let's be fair to all beliefs.
Just say the world.
The world.
Sil, what were we gonna say?
I'm not sure. It was just getting really, really deep there. I didn't think that's where this conversation was going.
Welcome to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat, baby.
But I did want to say something about what we were talking about with the beings that this guy is talking to.
Yeah.
When he said that, the pig and the cow thing and how they sounded like the cow or the pig while they were saying it, it made me think that they were definitely vibrational beings. Like maybe they were like tapping into the vibration of the pig, therefore that's why they sounded like it when they said it. Like I feel like these are either like his guides, or they could be like his past, like maybe his ancestors that are sticking around and just having a good time living vicariously through him. Like I don't know,
hitching a ride.
Yeah.
Well, this is good. I'm actually enjoying this after chat. Like maybe this could be a regular thing. If you guys are sticking around in the show, like I mean, this is kind of a really good debrief. We could keep the show an hour and a half and have a chat afterwards. What do you guys think in the comments? I'm gonna go through since we're here, and I'll say hi to our members. The Demon Guy, good to see you. Glad you're alive. I was concerned about you for a long time. Hello, Cece. I'm glad you're here. Obviously, that would be weird Who else do we got for members here? Any other members? If you guys are members, you get priority just because you guys are the ones that help keeping this free for the others. So just thank you for your help. Where are you? Nope, that's it for members. All right, let's get to everybody else. So say Robert Lampk, hello, sir. I saw that you were in the observation deck. You were the only one in there tonight. Thank you for your support, but we're here too. Wes H, welcome. Let me see, Tracy Lynn. Oh, you were here this morning at our lunchtime video. Glad you followed through and saw us tonight. Right on. Robert, you said CE6 radio contact. The radios will go off inside Faraday bags. I've seen videos proving it. So yeah, CE6. I think Paul Hynek is working on getting that added to the classification scale. For us, the ultra spectrum, that is actually in our level 5 for evidence. The communication, back and forth communication. Did you guys know there was a CE6? Did you guys know that?
No,
I
that was maybe a typo.
No, it goes 7, 8. Like 7, I think, is like the birth, like the alien hybrids or pregnancy. Like it goes further, but it's just not really widely accepted as the other ones, though.
Wait, so are we calling in these beings to impregnate? What?
No, it as far as a level of evidence goes, there's contact made and there's a hybrid species made through the contact. That's one of the levels in the close encounter scale. It's either 7 or 8. Robert, if you're still listening, you probably know what I'm talking about. Help me out. Tracy Lynn, you said, I think I picked up on that. I know it sounds insane, but I started picking up on presidential deep state government stuff. I do not like that at all. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that part about the, I guess, well, we're Canadian.
How the sound came in, or what do you mean, the government?
Well, the American politic problem. We're Canadian, so we're not really affected by that, but we do have American listeners. So
we would be affected by it. It doesn't matter what happens there. We would be affected by it. So
scary stuff.
It's yeah. There's a lot going on, and rightfully so. And I wish everyone good luck because I don't know what's gonna happen, and I'm it's very sad what's going on.
Okay. Earlier, Tim, the demon guy, said you don't know who the entities are, and that is true. We have to be very careful. And I mean, even if they're good, they could be tricksters. Like a human being. I mean, anyone who gives advice could be wrong advice depending on their motive.
Yeah.
How do we?
It kind of the language he said, how it communicated with him, it was concerning a little bit because it's like, well, most people say benevolent ETs will not tell you, they will not obstruct your free will, they will not tell you what to do. And he was saying, they would tell him what to do, and they were a little, abrupt with him. And it just kind of seems the opposite, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lisa, good to see you. She said you just joined in at 8:30 there, so that was an hour and a half ago. Look at that. There's a lot of comments. You guys were chatting today. I don't normally get to do this. This is fun. Tim, what did you say? Is our government that smart? Well, by our government, you mean Canada. Canada. Okay. Our government,
Good
well,
one.
depending on, it depends on what it's all about, I mean, our governments can be smart. They would have to, but they're human too. Like, I mean, like, okay, put yourself in the president's shoes and the prime minister's shoes. You're told by a controller or a higher power that, hey, we're all there's aliens and you can't tell anybody, but you need to tell them something. So this is what you're going to tell them. So you do it, but then like, are you going to have a conversation with your family? Like, how are you going to live your life? Like, how could you live that way? So I think like whoever's coaching the government at that level, there's got to be another level in which the coaches to that guide the presidents and the prime ministers are in on it, but not the prime ministers or the presidents. Otherwise, someone would have spilled the beans by now. I'm certain of it.
Yeah,
A
it
lot
would
of
be the people who are there all the time, not just the elected officials.
So who are the controllers? Who are those people? The elites? No answer?
I
Nobody
don't
knows?
know enough about. No, I don't. I'll go down that rabbit hole and never come out, and probably end up in a psych ward.
Priscilla, do you want to dabble into that one? That was a loaded question. Nobody wants to say. All right, we'll go. We'll skip through that.
Yeah.
Where we got it here? Tim again. Thank you for your super chat. Awesome. That was a good question, by the way. Thank you for doing that. What else we got here? Safe answers, California. I think that's it. Oh, Dave Percella. There you are, pal. Good to see you. Speaking of that, Dave, since you're here and everyone's, Dave is going to be having a monthly segment on the Experiencers Support Association. We originally planned to have it for tomorrow, but I've been very busy and haven't been able to set up the show. So we agreed, due to my tardiness and unavailability, that we will put that on next Friday. So next Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern time, Dave and I will have a conversation about the map, part 2, and we're going to dive into that on the Friday. So it'll be a special. And what we're hoping to do is Dave's going to try to commit to doing an astrology special once on the 4th Friday, so the last Friday of every month, to provide an additional content and so with astrology. So I haven't really had a chance to market that yet, which is why we haven't seen it, because I wanted to give it a full week's worth of advertising. But since we're here and he's there, I just thought I'd spoil that for or spoiler alert, I'd announce that now. So what do you guys think about that?
I'm excited.
Surprise.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, cool. No, and
I
thank
love
you.
astrology.
Yeah, no, and thank you, Dave, for your service so far. You've been doing you're a crowd favorite. A lot of people like what you're bringing to the table, and hopefully this helps provide some astrological answers. I mean, birth charts and stuff too. This guy, which by the way, I'm fixing my PayPal so I can get our birth charts. Just want to let you know that it's just a clerical error on my part. I'm making all these mistakes. Should have heard me this morning. I was speaking French and being made fun of, thanks to Chantal.
Bonjour. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. All right. Lisa, I have, you should ask, what do you think of my book? I have not got into it yet. I still have it. I'm in the middle of reading The Control Factor right now by David Hassel. It's also with Paul Bedard's book on top of my little shelf there in the bed, and Priscilla wants me to read more in bed, so like I'm kind of being honest here. I haven't been doing that, but once I start doing that, I will be getting to it. I promise you, I will get to it. I got ADD, guys. I can't read for very long.
A chapter a night.
I know, I'm trying. But then as soon as I start reading, I'm like, oh, I wonder if this is true. Fact check, verify, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden I'm in this investigation, and then it's like, hey, I read your book and you were wrong here, and there. And it's like, hello, you still there? Hello?
Just take notes
I've done that.
down.
I've done that a few times, and I can't turn it off sometimes. But don't worry, with Lisa, those are cases I've investigated too, so it's all good. Speaking of that, Lisa, we have recreation videos for the YouTube members right now, which will come out to public. But I just recently published some of those that included your 2019 ones. So some of those are in there, so they'll be public soon. It'll be interesting because you're going to see them in color and in shapes and things like that too. So I'm really happy to bring that out for you and other experiencers. All right, so we made it to the top of the hour. You guys got any questions, comments, concerns?
This is more than I signed up for.
It is, but you're doing great. You're doing great. You're doing absolutely great. Multi-purpose, we're here. Do it so well that we should do this again next week. What do you think? Make the podcast an hour and a half and then just do a little segment at the end? Why not?
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm
right.
non-committal as well. Sorry. We'll think about it.
Sorry, not sorry.
We'll surprise next week.
All right. Well, we'll see it from there. So everybody, thanks for watching. Keep your eyes in the sky and say it, guys.
Heat the
Heat the
world.
Take care.
Heat the world. That's it, everybody. That is a wrap. That is the end of it all. Thank you for joining me tonight. I look forward to seeing you back. For some reason, I failed to play the video. That's it, everybody. That is a wrap. That is the end of it all. Thank you for joining me tonight. I look forward to seeing you back next week, where we'll continue to have this conversation deep down into the rabbit hole in which we call the Ultra Spectrum. Thanks for joining us. I said that already. Oh well, fuck it. Eat the world.